Hello, good morning everybody. Today we shall be talking about classroom communication. As we know, communication skills, they play a very important role in our everyday life. As long as we don't have a good command over the communication skills, we won't be successful in our everyday life. But at the same time, when we talk about classroom communication, we have to think about all the kinds of interaction which take place between the students and the teachers. So, let us today see what all go into classroom communication. First of all, a teacher inside the class, in order to make the classroom communication successful, he has to be flexible. He has to take into account the different aspects of classroom, and he has to see whether the students are responding to his interaction with them or not. He has to use the proper language for their interaction, and he has to generate an environment inside the class where the students feel free to interact with the teacher. So, the flexibility of the teacher is the most important point, as we can see at the first point. That is very important, and if the teacher does not allow flexibility inside the class, if he is rigid about the rules all the time, then he will never be able to manage the class properly. Then let us see why this classroom communication is important. This classroom communication is important because it provides a replica of the society, the kind of communication that takes place in the society. The language that we use inside the class, it simply reflects the kind of language that we use in our everyday life. Every sentence that we use inside the class, that indicates that the students will be making use of that, the students will be transferring this classroom to normal social situations. For example, if the teacher enters the class and says good morning to all the students, it means that the students are able to know that while meeting somebody, they are to greet like this. Good morning is a kind of social function that the students understand through the classroom language. Then the classroom introduces students to form function relationships. What does this mean? Form function relationships, it simply means that for every structure in the language, there is a separate function for that. For example, the classroom situations, they demand us to make use of the yes or no type questions. Generally, as we know, yes or no type questions we make use of to know about the reaction of the people, to know whether they are ready to respond, they are ready to agree to our suggestions or not, but they can also be used for making a suggestion, making a request, making a even giving a threat even. Don't you know that you are not to be here? By saying this, we are not making a request. We are just telling the person that he is not doing the right thing. Then we can see the classroom provides opportunities for genuine uncontrolled language used for genuine communicative purposes. Here comes one point. Genuine uncontrolled language, what does it mean? Genuine uncontrolled language means the teacher does not intervene when the students are telling something, when the students are interacting, when the students are using the language. If the teacher constantly intervenes, if the teacher tries to control the language used by the students all the time, then the students will never be able to improve. They will have the fear of the teacher all the time, and they will think that if they go wrong, the teacher may reprimand them, the teacher may not approve it. So, they will never speak the language. So, whatever kind of language the students use inside the class, that prepares them for the social functions, for the social roles that they are going to play beyond the classroom. Now, let us come to the next point, that is, equips the students with meta language to improve their understanding. What is meta language? This meta language means you are using the same language to understand the different concepts, different phrases, expressions in the language. For example, when the teacher is teaching something, a student may stand up and ask the teacher to explain what the teacher really wanted to say, and the teacher responds to the questions of the students, the demands of the students in the same language. So, that way we are helping the students to understand the language. Now, let us come to discuss. Let us discuss the different functions inside the class that the teacher does. As we know, most of our classrooms, they are controlled by the teacher. They are teacher controlled. Even though we change our focus upon the students, we have to take care of the different functions that we are supposed to carry out inside the class. First of all, the teacher has to take care of the organization function. That means, he has to give instructions. While giving instructions, the teacher may use instructions related to the teaching of the text. For example, the teacher may say, open a book, open the book at page number this, sit properly, come here, go there. So, these are the different instructions the teacher can give to them. Similarly, under organization we have sequencing. What does a teacher sequence inside the class? It could be the sequencing of the topics that the teacher deals with. For example, the teacher may say, first we shall be dealing with this, second we shall be doing this, third we shall be doing this, like that. The teacher sequences the topics. The teacher may sequence the time also, the time that is given to the students. There are different activities that the teacher carries out inside the class. For each activity, the teacher has a different time slot. So, that is sequencing of the time. Even the teacher also sequences the position of the students, and for that also the teacher can use language. For example, the teacher can say, you sit here, then Mr. X comes next to you, then you take the name of a person and that person comes to the third position, like that. The next function that inside the class, that is interrogation. That is very important, because this interrogative spirit is equally important. As long as we do not encourage this questioning spirit among the students, they will never grow. When the students ask questions, they try to establish their personality. If the teacher does not encourage this interrogating spirit or questioning spirit among the students, then they will never grow, then they will never feel that they are able to learn the language inside the class. So, asking questions is not the only thing that the students do. The teacher has to respond to the students in the right way. If the teacher does not respond to the students in the right way, if the teacher simply ignores them, for example, a student comes out with the right answer, the teacher has to say with warmth that well done. So, when you say well done, you are encouraging the student to do that time and again. If you simply ignore the response, even if a student is wrong, we should not say that you are wrong straight. We should say that you are very close to the answer, you well tried, you can improve later on, like that. So, if you just encourage them to ask questions and you respond to them properly, then we will be able to improve their questioning spirit. Now, let us simply see what are the different kinds of questions that the students may ask. First, we have the language questions. When the students ask language questions, they want to know more about the language, they want the different concepts and phrases in the language to be explained. Then comprehension questions. For example, we give a text to the students and we want them to understand that, and the text is followed by a few questions. The students answer those questions, they can ask those questions and we can ask those questions, and this interaction between the students and the teacher, that will improve their communication skills. Then comes the lesson progress questions, where we check whether the students have really reached the expected level of performance or not. Then comes the opinion or preference questions, whether they particularly prefer a particular thing or not. For example, do you like ice cream? Do you like social science? Do you like history? Things like these. Okay. Then we come to the personal and factual questions. When we are asking personal questions, factual questions, we want to know what the teacher really, what the student really wants to do in life. For example, we can ask questions about the student, what are your hobbies, what are you planning to do. Okay. Then you can ask the questions related to their families. Then yes or no type questions, we have already talked about them. We can use them to ask information about the students. We can use them to make a request. Then comes the WH type questions. They are basically known as information questions, because all these WH type questions, we can make use of them to know about the information about different things. For example, what are you doing? We want to know the thing that the person is doing. Who are you? We want to know about the person, like that. The third important function that the teacher carries out inside the class is explanation. The teacher explains the terms in the language that he uses inside the class, and similarly the students also use the language to ask questions about the language. They want to clarify their concepts in the language. They can use a simple question like this: sir, could you please explain this term again? Sir, could you please elaborate upon this idea again? Like that. Simply, even for reference, the teacher can use words and phrases like this: according to Wordsworth, according to Newton, according to this book, to refer to different things and persons. And finally comes the most important function that the teacher carries inside the class, that is the function of interaction, which is the essence of all the functions, because it is through this function that the teacher develops the personality of the students. Through this kind of interaction, the teacher encourages the students to express their hopes, fears, emotions, feelings, thoughts, ideas, and grow in their personality. And the last part, that is the social ritual. Here what happens, we are able to help the students to express their different reactions to their social situations. If they meet somebody, they say good morning. If they hello. If they are to congratulate somebody, they say congratulations. If they are to celebrate something with somebody, they can also say hooray, something like that. So, all these expressions we make use of to express our social functions, social reactions to different situations. Thank you very much.